it can be daunting to embark on doing something you know you should do.
Yeah, but how can you measure where you're up to? Have any assurance that you're going to achieve your goals if you don't have it?
I know, it's so tough.
So, willkommen, bienvenue. Welcome once again to another one of my live streams. This one, is my regular treacle slot with David Chernick and my son Gareth Wax of the Many Purple Hats. He loves that stuff. We're talking today about something which is the essential backbone of any salesperson's progress. But for many people, they struggle to put it together into one cohesive thing. It's like a little bit there. It's on my phone. There's a bit of a spreadsheet. I've got a Word document. There's a notepad I started writing, and I want you to look at my emails. That's that way craziness lies. What are we talking about today, David?
So we've talked about pipelines a lot over the last however long it's been, over a year of these shows, and anybody that's been watching will know that when I go and see a client, first thing I ask really is whip out your pipe, let's have a look. And just in asking that question,
the pipe, that's what you say.
Whip out the pipe.
Yeah.
So and just in asking that question, I can learn like an enormous amount about how an organization is running its sales and how successful they are at it. And again, just for the people watching this who aren't clients and haven't been clients, I kind of spend my professional life, or I have for many years, with sort of fairly substantial businesses, helping them sell stuff to way bigger businesses. And so my clients will be fairly mature in to have grown to a multiple £1 million business. You'll be quite mature probably in how you have a pipeline. Right. You probably need to be reporting stuff, so you need to know what's coming up in the next few months. You need to be able to have a continuous flow of new clients, because you're supporting a workforce and you're having to spend money on people, and none of that's going to work unless you know that in the next 3 months you're going to have business coming in. So they tend to have
it's got to be the backbone, because
you can't really grow your business very easily to that without some form of pipeline. And I do this BNI thing, right? So I meet my referral marketing team, my business network, on a weekly basis, and quite often I'll take with me little screenshots of somebody's pipeline, and I'll sort of pinpoint something that is wrong about it to showcase the fact that I can fix those problems, whether it is converting at the end into an actual paying customer, or developing the opportunity to find extras to put in there, finding profit, all of that kind of thing, how to send off a proposal and whatnot. But in the last couple of years, I've brought out a more of an entry level product, which has given me access to a whole new customer base of small businesses. Some even one-man bands, and some, just a handful of people. And so when I ask the question, whip out your pipe, actually I see a different thing. And it's one of those things that maintains those small businesses as small businesses rather than growing enterprises. Okay. So, what is a pipeline to them is a different thing to what is a pipeline to a large company. In a large company, they'll have, the CRM system or some kind of system, or some sort of quite advanced spreadsheet or something like that, to be able to see what business is coming up and where those deals are an opportunity. But for a small business, quite often it looks a little bit more like this.
Yeah, that's just crazy. That's crazy. We because in our house we have something that we used to call the big drawer, and in the big drawer used to go oddments, but also all my business cards, and it was about that.
So business cards. I mean, you know, I go to events and conferences, and so people want to throw their
No.
their business card into my hand.
Okay. You know about the LinkedIn QR code, right?
Yeah.
Well,
We
I
can
do
all
that. I don't. I'm sorry, I don't do cards no more.
So yeah, I mean, whether you do cards or not, people do cards. I mean, these I've collected sort of over. It was just the year after we got back from lockdown. So I was going back there, and
So
people
is that 12 months worth of
basically
cardage?
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I would say anyone who's in that thing and wants to get away from it, there's card scan, which is on most phones, that will scan straight into your contacts. It'll OCR it, so it'll create from the images. It'll
the
grab
thing
the
is,
logo,
what happens is that, and why is this a pipeline? So this is quite common, okay, with small businesses.
right?
That their form of pipeline is that they come back from an event and they've got a wodge of business cards, and there's some quite cool ones in here, you know, like see-through ones and whatnot. See-through ones, by the way, don't get them. I mean, they're cute, but don't get them, because if you really want to make use out of a business card, when you're trying to sell, you'll probably write notes on them.
What kind of one?
What?
Oh, those. Oh, yeah. Waste of time.
Often what happens is that, you know, we'll pick up a business card, and that will be kind of our prompt to do some sort of follow-up with somebody and to find an opportunity. We probably would have had a conversation with somebody a bit, and if you're clever, you'll have written notes on it.
Well, if you're clever, when you take the business card, you'll arrange with them a time and a date when you'll follow up.
There are degrees of cleverness. There are degrees of cleverness. But that is quite often the state of somebody's pipeline. It will be whoever's card is at the top of the pile that they're working on at that moment. Okay.
Yeah, so but that's not a pipeline, because there's no assurity that any of the others of the cards underneath it have agreed that they want to have a further conversation with you.
Okay, well, I'll show you the upgrade from that. I'll show you the upgrade from that.
Yeah.
This doesn't quite deserve 2001 Space Odyssey intro, but it's the little black book.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And this is where people have, and quite often that I see it all the time, in the back of their book. I mean, you won't see it in the back of my book, but at the back of their book, there'll be a list of what they're working on currently.
Right.
You know, maybe with some numbers attached to it, just so they've got like a little bit of a list of who is in their pipeline. Yeah, what business they are working on at the moment, or that's coming up that they want to be closing.
Okay.
All right. Now, most of those people realize that it would be far easier and better to have some form of system for doing all of this stuff, because, you know, they know that if they don't deal with these business cards in the next month or so, they're just going to get forgotten about. They'll be in the
everybody knows that they've got to have something. They know in the back of their mind they should be doing something, but
now they won't chuck these away. They won't chuck these away when they don't use them, because, oh no, what if I need that contact like in the future? I'm not going to forget Joe blogs that, you know, just smile or something like that. I'm not going to forget about them because I'm going to sell something to them one day. But there's no way.
Contact hoarding.
There's no way, man. There's no way.
Would you call that contact hoarding?
Yeah, it's kind of like a hoarding thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you're just not going to be able to, especially if you're a small business, you're just not going to be able to sell to those people. Yeah. You're not going to have had an opportunity to record and then work on their problems that they would have told you 6 months ago, 3 months, 1 month ago, let alone a year ago.
Right.
But the trouble is it's difficult to start off putting that into some kind of system. So I thought I would just share with the folks here, you know what I would tend to advise somebody to do when they're in this situation. They just want to get started, because
right.
I've also seen quite often when people will have that, the first thing they'll do is they'll go off and subscribe to a CRM system, you know, a Zoho or a HubSpot or something like that. And with all good intention that from now on, whenever I come back from a meeting somebody, I'm going to log it in my system and it's going to create some prompts for me and take out some of the hard work. But it's very, very rare that I see anybody doing anything with it. Very, very rare. You know, they'll start off for a few weeks diligently, adding their data to these CRM systems, but they still won't use it. And so I try and advise those people to start off small, start off simple, and start off with behavior rather than an actual full-blown CRM system. You know, quite often that can be the entry level for them. And what is the simplest way? And we're always advised to steer away from spreadsheets. But after many, many years, I can tell you that the simplest way to start off is to write them down on a list, on a spreadsheet, where it's already set up to have different columns. Yeah, even if it is just the few people that you met in the last week or the last month, just write them down on a list in column 1.
It's true. It is so true.
Now, that's just a list. That isn't a pipeline. But we can very easily turn that list into a pipeline just using your spreadsheet. Because if column 1 is the list of the people that you might want to deal with, then column 2 might be the thing that you're going to sell them. Yeah, the thing that they might have that that you might have that that would help them with their problem. Yeah. So if you write down in this column next to it the solution to their problem, yeah, in their terms. I mean, we've talked before about you know, writing things down in their language, word for word. But you've got really in that second column a list of all of the different products that you're going to be selling. Yeah, written down in the format, if you can, of the problem that they are facing. You know, so for me, you know, the problem that somebody might be facing is that they can't organize their pipelines. All right. So I'm going to write down in that column, help organizing pipelines. All right. Third column, estimated close date. Yeah. If you were to go ahead and buy my services, when would that be? Now, we might not know the answer to that question, of course. We've been here before on these shows talking about that, but you'll have an empty box if you don't know. And that empty box will prompt you to go and find out. Yo, I know we saw each other at conference and we were talking about, you know, yada, 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 your problem with this, and you wanted help setting up a pipeline. I just wanted to ask, because I've got an empty box on my pipeline here and estimated close date. If you were to buy my services, when do you think that might be? Yeah. And then we've got a date. Right.
Your important expectation.
There you go. And then in the next column along, so this is our fourth column. We're going to write down an estimated value. Now, we know how much our services cost, or we can make an estimate, so we can put a figure in there. The best figure that we can put in there is one that both you and they know. So again, if I've got an empty box there and we haven't had the conversation at that little snippet of time we spent together at the conference, you know, it prompts me to see that empty box and say, right, I'm going to phone this dude up. Yo, we had this conversation at the conference. You told me about the problem. You told me that if you were to go ahead with this kind of thing, you were going to start in June. But I've got an empty box here where it says estimated order value. So I just wanted to ask you, if we were to go ahead, what would it be worth to you? How much of my stuff would you need? You might need to prompt them, and with the range, we've talked about how to price things early on. But we still need a figure in there, because that will turn it into a qualified opportunity. And we can prompt them by saying something like, you know, in my case, you know, my entry level service comes in at £400 a month. You know, if you were to become a client in June for the solution to your problem with your pipeline, my service is £400. Is that what you had in mind? Yeah. And if they go, oh, yeah, I guess. Fine. Okay. We're not going to be talking about pricing. This is not an opportunity to negotiate, nothing like that. It's just to get a figure in there so that you and they have an expectation. And then what you are armed with is what in everyday sales parlance is really a qualified opportunity. Yeah. It's got a qualitative description as to what they're buying. It's got how much it's going to be. And it's got when they would close, and it's all if they were to become a client.
Right.
And that's it. That's your pipeline, man.
Wow. That's achievable for most people, I would have thought.
Yeah. You know, you could do it just one at a time. You know, where am I going to start? You know, I have a lot of people saying, oh, it's the burden of starting. How am I going to do this? So they'll log on to their new subscription of HubSpot CRM, which is free, and it's a good system. Or they'll go
and
on
also it should be noted it has an element that means you can track what you're doing from your phone, so it's a cool thing to use, and
it's got a great app.
absolutely free. Absolutely free.
I'm a big fan of it, and it's great to get. But it's a chunky piece of software. It can be a bit off-putting because there's so many of these data fields to fill in.
Some person who I don't know him, called Neil Giller, has just popped up saying kiss.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, I think I know.
I want to say a big hello to Neil. Funnily enough, that entry-level product that I just described, which is called the Treacle Club, when it was first put together by another friend of mine called Al Tepper, when he basically designed that service, and I was looking to price it. How much does this thing cost? I actually messaged Neil Giller and said, "Yo, how much should I sell this for?" And he goes, "What is it?" I told him what they'd get. He goes, 400 quid. And that's where the 400 pounds comes from. So big shout out to Neil. Thank you.
Fair enough.
But that's where you start. You take it from this. Next stage is to a spreadsheet. Just create a spreadsheet is fine. Don't listen to anybody that says, "Oh, spreadsheets are terrible." Spreadsheets are terrible, but you're talking about creating a new behavior for yourself. That's it.
Yeah, once you've got the spreadsheet going, you can always contemplate moving that, because remember, once it's in a spreadsheet, as long as you keep it, there's one element. By the way, guys, if you're going to use a spreadsheet as a database, which is effectively what you're doing, one element per line. Don't start confusing yourself by one element per line. And remember to set your columns so they wrap, so that way you don't have to write stuff in multiple columns. But as long as you do that, when the time comes to move to a CRM, you should be able to export it as a CSV, import it, and off you go.
There you go, man.
Spreadsheets are a good starting point.
There's so many positives that come from doing it. And you just sort of highlighted another one that you'll ease when you're ready to use CRM.
Should be easy
to export all of that. You can add extra columns if you wanted to put some extra contact details, so it's all there.
Well, I don't want to blow your mind, but remember, each of those columns will effectively become a field, and a field in the CRM is very critical. So if you can work it out there, you can add the fields to your sorted, and once you've started filling it in, you're thinking, right, I need to get my big boy pants on, or big girl pants on, and you want to move and you want to move to something a bit more regimented and controlling, but also that will also capture your telephone activity and all the rest of it, then it's actually relatively easy to do that. As I said, one line per client, one column per field. But look, thanks a lot, David. I think you've pointed out something that most people are a little bit scared of doing. I think once they admit that it's a proper pipeline, then they have to move away from the cards. They have to move away from the notes that are on their desk and the bits of paper shoved underneath last week's post. They've got to understand that it's something that you are going to look and forget that you've got a sales manager wanting to know. Forget that you've got a sales director wanting to know how close things are going to close. You yourself, for your own personal edification, so that because most people's salesmen's income is a function of the closing ability of that pipeline. If they want to be able to estimate how much you're going to get paid monthly or even yearly, the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you can know what your pipeline is. So all this stuff helps. I promise you. Just bite the bullet. Get over that. Oh no, I have to codify it. I promise you. Once it's done, you're going to look back on this day and think to yourself, "Do you know that was a little epiphany there that David eked out of me." And now I'm doing it. I'm ready for the next move, which of course CRM, etc. But David, thank you once again for,
pleasure, man.
Let's face it, pointing out the bleeding obvious that most people are too scared to admit they need to do. My name's Gareth Wax. He's David Chernick. We'll be with you next week. Until then, have a great rest of the week. It's Hump Day, which is always the day I look forward to, because the rest of the week's gravy as far as I'm concerned. It's all good. To everybody listening out there, remember, you can do it. and not to let this stuff lean on you. I always sign off by wishing everybody good mental health. I think a lot of salesmen suddenly feel the pressure of the world on their shoulders and then start judging themselves by it. Just deal with today. Tomorrow's history. Yesterday's mystery. Tomorrow's no. Tomorrow's a mystery. There we are. I got it. So if you just deal with today, yeah, whatever.
Ciao, man.
You'll make good progress. Until next week, safe mental health to one another.